Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you one of my favorite mushroom meals, lion's mane crab cakes. Lion's mane has a unique scent that many people compare to seafood, especially shellfish like crab and scallop. I don't get that scent when it's fresh, but when it's cooked I find it tastes remarkably like crab. It won't fool you into thinking that's what you're eating. It has a little more chew to it than melt-in-your-mouth crab meat, but it's a really tasty, really easy way to use up some leftover lion's mane, or to keep in mind when you're shopping at the farmer's market next. Let's get right into it. First, you take a big lion's mane. Hey, I grew that! If this is your first video here, I run a tiny craft mushroom farm in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, I'm not measuring things here, but I'm working off a base recipe from Alan Burgo from his Forager Chef site. If you haven't checked him out, do that after this video. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge about mushrooms and the best ways to eat them, and he has a ton of awesome recipes, including my base for this. Link in the description. But I hate following recipes, and I wanted to put my own spin on this anyway and make it to my tastes. So, here we go. You take that big lion's mane, about a pound or a little less, and you rip it apart limb from limb. Really get in there with your hands and feel the texture of the mushroom. It's unlike anything else, and it's super satisfying to peel it apart into little crab-like lumps. Since lion's mane is a little tougher than crab, I like to go pretty small, and you can chop finely if you prefer even smaller. Just don't go too tiny or it'll just turn into one good-tasting but mushy mess. Once you've pulled it apart, your hands will feel a little powdery and smell like fresh lion's mane. A clean, pleasant scent that's refreshing more than it is earthy and dark, and it washes right off. Now you're ready for step 2. Just toss it in a bowl with some salt and wait. I only used about half a teaspoon of salt here. If you know your salt shaker well, trust your instincts, but this is one of the few measurements that can mess up the final product if you go overboard, so keep that in mind. Then I used my already mushroomy hands and tossed it together and popped the bowl in the fridge. The salt will begin to soften some of the cells of the mushroom, letting it start to release its juice. This is key because mushrooms like lion's mane are about 90% water, and crab cakes are notably not 90% water and won't brown if they have more than just a drop or two in them. But don't worry about it at this point, it's just a passive step. All you need to do is refrigerate until you're ready to start cooking, or leave them covered on the counter. Mushrooms are fine at room temp, especially with salt on them for a few hours. But if you want to cook along, then take your lion's mane and dump it into a skillet that will hold all the mushrooms. You don't want to be spilling stuff all over your stove, but you don't need extra space, because next, you'll run that skillet under the sink or use a measuring cup to get a little water in the pan. Sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, the water will mix with the salt and use osmosis to draw even more of the mushroom juices out of your lumps. Then put it on medium and let it simmer away until the water's gone. If you hear sizzling from your pan, not simmering, then look away from the sauce and go check the pan. But otherwise, you have a few minutes here. You'll see I'm just using the same bowl that the raw mushrooms were in. That's safe and fine for lion's mane. They aren't like chicken, where their raw form carries significant bacteria. That's not a blanket rule for all mushrooms though, so take it species by species when it comes to things like this. Plus, I'm cooking the mixture after this anyway. In that bowl, I add a glug of Dijon mustard, about a tablespoon, then about half a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, then a healthy squeeze of lemon, maybe another half tablespoon. About now, you should be hearing a little sizzle from the skillet. That's cool, go check on it. Mine had already cooked all the visible water out, as you can see, but they aren't browning yet. If yours are, turn them way down to low and stir them, maybe add a little more water here. But back to our mixing bowl, where I spoon in about a quarter cup of mayo. If you have a really good mayo you love, you can freestyle and add a little more. And crack in 1 egg, and beat the mixture together with a spoon. It doesn't need to be homogeneous, just mixed. We're bouncing back and forth a little now. You can see I'm really pressing down on the mushrooms with a spatula. But look at how much water is released when I do that. Keep doing that until it's pretty much dry, making sure you don't burn anything and scraping up the bits of mushroom that get stuck to the bottom of the pan. These taste great, but they'll burn quick, so you don't want to lose them. Mushrooms have some complex carbohydrates that give them a great Maillard reaction, caramelizing and crisping them up at the edges. We'll get a lot more of that in crab cake form, but you do want your mushrooms to get a little of that browning going on. Once you're satisfied that the water has been thoroughly squashed out, or once you're bored of squashing, it'll still taste good mushy, it'll just have a slightly less appealing texture. Take them off the heat. If they're in a thin-walled pan that cools quickly, like this one, you can leave them in it. Otherwise, transfer them to a plate to cool. Looks good to me, and almost like lump crab meat. To finish the cake mix, you want some herbs or aromatics. I love green onion, and that's what I have, so I'm using it. But you could use fresh tarragon, thinly sliced celery, or even chopped celery leaves, basil, cilantro. But I sliced the onions up and dumped them in. Then, a key element. Panko breadcrumbs are what's going to give this crab its cake and make it eat like more than just a light crab omelet. This is pretty close to that half cup that Alan calls for. He says to let the panko sit for a while to soak up the sauce, and that's valid, but you don't have to if you're pressed for time. Your cake will just be a little crunchy in places, which I've tried and is a nice change of pace. I love crunchy foods. Last, add in your seasoning. Salt to taste. Don't forget you salted the mushrooms earlier, so you may want to taste the mix now, as Alan recommends. You can also pick a piece out of the pan later to taste, if the raw egg worries you. You can use Old Bay seasoning if you like it, and I sometimes do use some, but I find it overpowers the mushroom and muddies it up with all the other flavors. So I like to leave mine fairly simple, complementing the lemon with a little pinch of dried herbs from the spice cabinet. These herbs de Provence will do. Once you're satisfied with your mix, all that's left to do is to dump in your crab and then cook your cakes. With the panko in the mix, it'll look a little dry, so once you mix in the lion's mane, you'll want to make sure that your mix looks about like this. Each piece is coated but not drenched in mayo, and there aren't any dry pockets. And it's way more mushroom than breading. That's what you want. Then drizzle some oil into the pan. I had olive right by the stove. Turn the heat to medium again, and once the oil is hot, ball up a cake and lightly place it into the oil, pressing it down to compress and flatten it out. Then repeat the process and do your cakes whatever size you want. I did 3 big ones and one fell apart, as you can see, but that's alright. They're a little delicate, but the break won't affect the flavor at all. Then you cook them in the pan until brown. Alan uses a hybrid pan first, then put the pan in the oven method, and I'm sure that works great, but I was using a pan with a plastic handle, so I tried it this way, and this way worked great too. These things brown quickly, and the only raw component at this point is the egg, which will set and reach safe temperature quickly too, so this part's fast. Just check the bottom of the first one you dropped in, and when it's brown to your liking, carefully flip it onto its other side. A second spatula helps here, or you can be a rebel like me and risk it with only one. Your other 2 are probably ready now too, depending on when you put them in. Not too bad, apart from the broken one, right? And once you hit that same level of browning on the other side, you're all set. Slide them out of the pan and onto a plate, or lift them with your spatula and transfer them. They'll be great as is with a side of remoulade, on a sandwich roll with leaf lettuce and a lemon aioli, or as the base for eggs benedict. However you like your crab cakes, that's a way you can eat these. Again, I don't think I'd eat one of these and really think it was crab, but it sure is a great way to eat a great mushroom. I call Phaewild a spore-to-supper mushroom farm, and things like this are the reason. I grow mushrooms because I love eating them, and they do good things for my body when I eat them. But I'm a foodie first, so I want to know the best ways to eat them, not just the same old techniques we've passed on for years. This recipe has been around for a little while, and I'm sure for many of you it's nothing too wild. That's alright. We can't eat something new every night. But for vegetarians craving crab or landlocked Tennessee omnivores stuck inside on a cold winter day, this is a great beachy treat. My channel is new, so if you liked this, I'd appreciate you hitting subscribe. I don't upload all that often, so it'll help my videos without annoying you, I promise. And if you have a mushroom recipe that you want to see me cook on the channel, let me know. Remember, always play with your food. I'm Matt, and this is Phaewild.